In her previous life, she exists as an S-rank awakened curse, a being so abnormal that every unusable skill and every restricted item is completely logged, sealed, and rendered inaccessible. Half-packed, half-awakened, she walks through the world carrying powers she can never fully touch. Because of this condition, people give her a name that spreads quietly but cruelly through the ranks, the Log Princess. Someone approaches her and speaks of what he has heard. Her abilities, he claims, are all locked, but rumors say her physical combat skills are outstanding. He wants her assistance in taking down monsters. After all, she is immune to monster poison, and its effects will not touch her. He even offers to lend her his S-rank ranger equipment. If the raid succeeds, he promises her a permanent lease right as a reward. The target is the strongest boss among all existing dungeons, a corrupted demon monster. She knows immediately that he is trying to use her to kill it. Even so, when she learns that the monster is alone instead of guarded by a party, hope stirs within her. A reward awaits, and she thinks that she might finally get to use equipment for once. That single thought clouds her judgment. Foolishly, she reaches out and grabs the weapon, gripping it so tightly that it bites into her hand. The scene cuts to the monster. A critical hit lands cleanly. She feels relief flood her chest as she realizes the monster's movements have slowed. Victory seems possible. The monster raises itself and prepares to strike her. She knows she can block the attack. Then, without warning, her sword begins to disappear. The owner of the weapon is that man. He recalls the equipment. Wounded and bleeding, she demands an answer. Instead, he stands over her, sword pointed toward her body. He admits that he never expected her to push the monster this far. If he had not recalled the sword, she would have finished it off herself. The truth cuts deeper than her wounds. He took back the gear because he was afraid. Afraid that she would kill the monster while defending herself. Afraid because item drops belong to the one who delivers the final blow. She cannot believe how someone can act this way. He shouts for her to die already, because if she does, the reward will go to him and not her. Her thoughts spiral as blood drains from her body. She thinks that even if she had obtained the reward, she would not have been able to use it anyway. Her curse would have sealed it like everything else. The man continues, claiming it does not matter. He says she can steal bound items by killing their owner, and he will make sure she dies by his hands before she bleeds out. As her consciousness wavers, she wonders if this is truly how she is going to die. Meaningless, empty, forgotten. Suddenly, a system screen appears. A life-threatening situation has been detected. A reward activates automatically. The monster begins to wake up. Panic spreads. Everyone starts running, shouting in confusion, unable to understand what is happening. Even she is confused. She does not understand why the reward is not locked this time. Nothing like this has ever happened before. The scene cuts away. She wakes up. Her eyes open, and the first thought that fills her mind is confusion. She wonders where she is. She wonders if she is alive. She wonders what happened to the monster. And finally, she wonders what became of that annoying man. She is confused by the state of her body. Something feels terribly wrong. Her limbs are too small, her balance unfamiliar, and when she tries to move, she realizes she cannot do so freely. Her hands are tiny, far too tiny. A dreadful thought crosses her mind, and she immediately rejects it. This cannot be the reward for killing the monster. She is relieved that she is alive, truly alive, but her body has clearly been altered. This is not a reward. It feels more like a curse. She had thought that for once, just once, she would finally receive a proper reward. Instead, she is trapped in a body that barely responds to her will. Her thoughts halt abruptly when she becomes aware of another presence beside her. A golden-haired man is standing nearby. He looks down at her and wonders aloud whether this girl is his daughter, remarking that she looks strange. The line strikes her like lightning. It is painfully familiar. The man reaches out and squishes her cheek, commenting on how soft it is. The action and sentiment are unmistakable. It is straight out of a cliché noble childcare setting, the kind with an excessively doting father. She recognizes it immediately, and the realization makes her mind reel. The man lifts her up with ease and remarks that she is too light, that she barely has any presence at all, lighter than a feather, a fragile little thing. From her position, she takes in her surroundings. The room is undeniably luxurious. Fine materials surround her, classic decorations fill every corner, and everything about the space screams old-world nobility. Her thoughts spiral. This setting, these lines, this atmosphere, they are all too familiar. She refuses to believe it. She absolutely refuses. Do not tell her that she has reincarnated into a childcare novel. Is this truly the reward she receives for killing the corrupted demon monster? Being reborn as a baby in a completely new world? She has probably never received a proper reward before, so how would she even know what one should feel like? Still, this feels wrong. Entirely wrong. She wonders if everyone else involved in the subjugation received their rewards properly, or if she alone has been subjected to something this absurd. Her thoughts are interrupted when someone else arrives in the room. The newcomer asks to be excused for a moment and addresses the golden-haired man as a father. Shortly after, a very young boy enters the room. The moment she sees him, she realizes something else that makes her head ache. This is a Starchild family, and the boy is absurdly handsome. The father turns his attention to the boy and asks what he wants. The boy explains that he heard the father had returned after finishing the subjugation and came to greet him. The father responds coldly, stating that the boy is wasting his time and should not bother him, telling him to return to his room instead. She finds the interaction unsettling. They are clearly family, yet the attitude is harsh, almost dismissive. She cannot understand how a father can treat his child like that. Just as the boy is about to leave, the father tells him to wait. He mentions that Julia reported the boy caused a disturbance while he was away. The boy attempts to explain himself, but the father cuts him off, saying that such behavior will not be tolerated. He addresses the boy as Alexa Precision. Then comes another line that sends a chill through her mind. The father adds that as the older sister, Alexa should set an example for the newborn sibling. Her thoughts freeze. Older sister. Her gaze returns to the boy. She had thought he was a brother. He is far too handsome, far too striking. The idea that he is a sister does not register at first. Alexa responds obediently, saying that she understands and will keep it in mind. Everything about this situation feels wrong. Horribly, terrifyingly wrong. It feels as though she has seen this exact scene before. The words, the tone, the roles, every detail aligns with something buried deep in her memory. Then it hits her. This is not a childcare novel. The story is called Revenge Alexa. It is the very last novel a woman reads before her death. After dying, she awakens inside that same novel, only to realize that she has possessed the body of its female protagonist. The story itself tells of revenge after returning to the past. The protagonist's name is Alexa, and the target of her revenge is her youngest sister, Clara, the one who stole everything from her. In the original novel, Clara is the female protagonist, while Alexa is nothing more than a villain. That villainous Clara had once bullied and eventually killed her own older sister, Alexa. Now, after being murdered and regressing to the past, Alexa knows exactly what awaits her. She makes up her mind that Clara will become dead meat 4 years later. However, as time passes, Alexa sees enough signs to become certain of one thing: she is truly living inside a novel. With that realization, her goal changes. She wants to stay out of her sister's sight and avoid her at all costs. She decides to forget about their father entirely, because she knows that her sister is destined to become the strongest person in this world. Even so, circumstances force her to approach her sister. She goes to Clara and asks her to eat a cookie prepared by the chef. Alexa immediately turns her head away, already aware that Clara only eats food that looks exactly like the kind she prefers. Clara is ignored once again. She had specifically come to find her sister after finishing her lessons, and as she observes Alexa's cold reaction, she becomes acutely aware of how much Alexa seems to hate her. Clara must have already made similar requests in the past, but this time things are different. She is no longer the same Clara who once dragged her sister down. Even so, she has no intention of dying a miserable death or allowing a villain to triumph over her life this time. Alexa reflects that she thought she had finally found a family after dying once, only to end up possessing a villain destined to be killed by her own family. However, she realizes that this is not only for her own sake. It is also for her sister's sake. In the near future, her sister will suffer at the hands of villains who will try to kick her out of the family. That is something Alexa refuses to allow. The regressed Alexa will eventually take over the house, but the journey toward that future is incredibly rough. She will be purged and nearly destroyed during the process, yet she swears that she will not let it happen again. This time, she will help her sister and survive no matter the cost. Someone suddenly calls out to Clara. A lady praises her, saying that she is a great actress, just like her mother, Julia. Julia is her biological mother and the Duke's second wife. The man standing beside Julia comments that Julia deliberately clung to Alexa to make it appear as though Alexa hated her sister. He adds that the Duke will be furious when he hears about this. Julia then questions the maid, asking whether she saw everything clearly, insisting that the maid must report the incident to the Duke exactly as it happened. Clara tries to explain to her mother that this is not the truth. However, the man lifts her up and reassures her that this was only a simple act of framing. He claims that one day their niece will be the one to kick Alexa out of the house. This man is a Viscount. He is Julia's brother and Clara's uncle. In reality, they are the villains, and they are all destined to die if they dare to interfere with Alexa. Clara insists again that her sister does not actually hate her. Julia, however, tells her to make sure she says those exact words in front of her father as well. Because of this, he will pity her even more. At that moment, someone arrives and informs Julia that a visitor has come. This person is the Duke's administrator and also his nephew. He informs the Duchess that he has something important to show her and asks whether she can spare a moment of her time. Soon, everyone is gathered together. What he presents is the report card from the exam Clara took the other day. Julia becomes extremely furious upon seeing it. She directs her anger at Clara, criticizing her harshly and questioning whether this can even be called passing school. She demands to know whether Clara understands how much money was paid for her tutor. What Julia does not know is that Clara deliberately wrote incorrect answers in order to make her sister appear more talented. Because of that, Alexa likely received a perfect score, exactly as Clara had expected. Even so, hitting a child this young is clearly excessive and cruel. Julia shouts at Clara, demanding to know where she thinks she is allowed to cry. She insults her further, saying that she is even worse than Alexa, who learns from a commoner teacher. Julia continues to berate Clara, screaming about how much money she has spent just to make Clara look good in front of the Duke, calling her foolish and useless. The administrator intervenes and politely asks Julia to calm herself and not scold Clara so severely. He explains that he already presented a different report card to the Duke. He reveals that he reported the scores with Lady Alexa's and Clara's results swapped. Clara is stunned by this revelation and cannot believe that her scores have already been manipulated. In truth, the Duke does not even care about either Clara's or Alexa's academic results. Julia immediately expresses her gratitude to the administrator and hands him some money in appreciation for his efforts. The administrator accepts it but comments that he feels obligated to say something. He remarks that the amount is quite modest and appears insufficient to cover all the expenses required to manage the Duke's estate. This remark infuriates Julia. She explains that she barely managed to gather this amount by embezzling from the kitchen budget. Her brother intervenes, telling her that she should have simply said she borrowed it. The administrator then remarks that he had heard she was so short on funds that she had to take money from the kitchen budget, and he comments that if she had said something earlier, his father would have lent her the money without hesitation. Clara silently observes all of this and notes how foolish they are. The administrator presents himself as kind and helpful, but in reality, he is an even worse villain than Julia. He has likely been lining his own pockets by forcing Julia to take out private loans under such circumstances. He takes his leave, telling them that they should feel free to contact him whenever they need assistance, adding that he will only take this much for today. Julia remains furious. She lashes out again, saying that he is nothing more than a mere administrator. She then turns her anger toward Clara, asking whether she sees the kind of trouble she has caused. Clara realizes that she is about to be struck again. At that moment, another voice interrupts. Someone announces that this is where Clara is. Alexa appears. Julia questions Alexa about what is going on. Alexa calmly explains that she went to the kitchen and asked for some chocolate chip cookies, only to be told that there were no extra cookies available. Julia argues that the servants must have eaten them all. Alexa counters this by pointing out how strange it is that a place like this would not have extra desserts prepared. Julia insists that it is simply because the servants are lazy. Alexa refutes this, explaining that it is because the kitchen lacks sufficient ingredients. She further points out that Julia is the one in charge of the kitchen budget. Julia demands to know what Alexa is implying. Alexa responds by suggesting that Julia should keep a close eye on the employees, just in case they are hiding things from her and causing embarrassment regarding the budget. Clara's uncle steps in and tells Alexa that this matter is none of her concern and that they will handle it themselves, insisting that it should be kept secret from the Duke. Alexa responds by stating that she has already been on her way back from informing her father, which is why he is currently looking for Julia regarding this issue. This revelation causes both Julia and Clara's uncle to panic. They immediately rush off to see the Duke. As they leave, they tell Clara that they will return after meeting him. Alexa looks at Clara. In that moment, Clara feels relief and gratitude, realizing that her sister has saved her once again. Clara expresses her gratitude toward Alexa. She acknowledges her help, relieved and emotional, but Alexa immediately corrects the misunderstanding. She makes it clear that she did not come to rescue Clara. She merely happened to pass by the kitchen on her way elsewhere and overheard something strange. Clara is confused and wonders what she means by that. Alexa explains in her usual blunt and awkward manner. She recalls hearing the head chef complain that the last cookie had been taken. If such words were being spoken in the ducal kitchen, especially directed at the youngest lady of the house, then something was clearly wrong. From that alone, Alexa deduced that the kitchen must be short on ingredients. And if the kitchen lacked supplies, then it meant someone had siphoned off the funds meant for them. Clara feels a surge of admiration. As expected of Alexa, even though her explanation is clumsy and poorly delivered, she grasps the core of the issue instantly. Still, Clara hesitates for a moment before revealing that she has one more gift to offer. She calls out to Alexa and claims that she knows where her mother's secret diary is hidden. Not the ordinary personal diary, but Julia's regular diary, the one also known as the embezzlement ledger. She insists that if Alexa wants it, she will definitely help her obtain it. Alexa immediately shuts the idea down. She tells Clara that a child her age should not be poking her nose into matters like that and warns her not to say such nonsense anywhere else. The reaction is sharp and final. Clara drops down at once and apologizes. Alexa hands her something. Clara opens it and sees that it is a bundle of cookies. Alexa explains that she picked them up on the way. Clara is startled. She knows there should not have been any cookies left in the kitchen at all. The realization dawns on her that Alexa must have bought them herself. That simple act makes Clara genuinely happy. She thanks Alexa, her heart swelling. For a moment, she truly believes that Alexa has finally opened her heart to her, that perhaps this is the beginning of something warmer between them. But Alexa tells her to eat them and run away. The next day comes, then the day after that. Those cookies remain the last gift Clara ever receives from Alexa. 8 years later, tragedy strikes the duchy. News spreads that the Duke and Duchess have died while boating. Their vessel capsized suddenly on a lake so calm that the incident seems impossible. Whispers ripple through the land, people questioning whether it was truly an accident. Clara knows better. She has always known that the ducal couple were destined to meet an early death. Yet something feels wrong. This is far earlier than it should be. According to the original story, she knows, a devastating plague was supposed to strike years later, and that was when the two of them were meant to die. The timeline has shifted. She wonders if there is a reason the original story has changed so drastically. Murmurs begin to spread throughout the duchy. People speculate endlessly about who will become the next head of the duchy. Some insist that it is obviously Alexa. Others hesitate, pointing out that she has not yet even undergone her coming-of-age ceremony. She is only 17, and her uncle will not wait until she comes of age. He will attempt to rule as regent by using Clara. This much is already clear. All the elders and vassals are firmly on Arnold and Julia's side. There is probably not a single one among them who has not taken money from that pair. The administrator's opinion will matter as well, because he was the late Duke's most trusted person. Everyone is talking far too much, and at this rate, the duchy itself may fall into chaos. Clara wonders what she can possibly do. Suddenly, someone calls out to Celia. It is her uncle. He speaks of how she is only 12 years old and already an orphan, and how difficult it must have been for his brother-in-law to leave such a young child behind. Clara is startled by this. She wonders since when he started calling her father his brother-in-law. He had always addressed him as Your Grace, and the Duke himself had only ever truly loved himself. She once believed he was a doting father, but in truth, he had simply been deeply narcissistic. Her uncle continues, declaring that he will never betray his brother-in-law's wishes. He says that he will take responsibility for her and that no one will ever be able to drive her out of this place. Clara can clearly see that her uncle is attempting to intimidate her. He wants her to distance herself from Alexa, implying that Alexa will be the one expelled. He emphasizes again that no one will be able to drive Clara out, as though she had been afraid of that possibility. Clara questions whether she could truly be thrown out. Her uncle reassures her and tells her not to worry, urging her to simply trust him. Clara thanks him for protecting them, but he insists that he will protect his Clara alone. She presses further, asking who exactly is trying to drive them out and how terrible that would be, requesting that he name them. Her uncle grows evasive, clearly unsettled, and ends the discussion by saying that they will talk about it later. Clara can already see what is happening. They are pushing Alexa to the side and thinking only about how to use her. Clara realizes that she was careless. She should have expected that the future might change. Alexa responds sharply, dismissing Clara's words as nonsense and questioning since when the two of them had become a single us. Clara insists that she is on Alexa's side and that she will protect her. Alexa declares that she will not be driven out of this family, not in this life. Instead, she states that the one who should truly be worried is Clara. Clara can sense that Alexa is not even bothering to hide the fact that she has regressed. Alexa likely assumes that Clara would not understand anyway. For a moment, Clara wonders whether her sister truly needs her help at all. Perhaps it would be better if she were to disappear sooner rather than later. Suddenly, voices rise sharply, shouting about information and indecent conduct. The scene cuts to a later night, where men are speaking among themselves. One remarks that it is fortunate that Clara is foolish and wonders whether she takes after Julia. Another reprimands him, saying that he should address Julia properly, likely as the Duchess. The first man argues that it hardly matters what she is called. The other replies that watching Clara's uncle become flustered because of a young lady was quite satisfying. These two men are Knight Commander Madden and Chief Knight Dane. Both are highly capable, loyal, and completely unconnected to Clara's uncle. Alexa has kept them close, beginning from her second regression. In this life, she had to convince Madden once again, despite his pride and his resentment towards serving a child. It had been exhausting. However, after witnessing her quiet yet overwhelming aura, his assessment became firm. This wretched life marks the third time Alexa has regressed, for reasons still unknown. Because of that, she knows she must gather as many allies as possible. And then there is Clara. Alexa wonders what kind of child she truly is. Is she sharp enough to be easily brought to her side, or is she someone who needs to be knocked down a few times before submitting, just as she was in the previous life? Alexa catches herself drifting again, her thoughts circling around matters she long ago deemed pointless. She reminds herself that she already reached her conclusions years ago. Shaking off the distraction, she asks what the young lady had said. The answer comes that the girl declared herself to be on Alexa's side and even claimed that she would protect her. The response makes Madden laugh. To him, the idea is absurd. Who, exactly, is protecting whom? The girl looks so fragile that she seems as though she would burst into tears if someone so much as pinched her cheek. Alexa, however, finds the situation unsettling rather than amusing. Something feels wrong. In her past life, she was killed by Clara. In her second life, she killed Clara herself, completed her revenge, and believed that everything had finally ended. Yet now she has returned once again. Even her parents died earlier in this life than they did before, and she cannot help but wonder whether that, too, has something to do with Clara. Madden voices his suspicion that Clara's sudden behavior thinking she can protect Alexa must be the work of her uncle. In his view, they are clearly trying to deceive Alexa. Alexa questions this logic, wondering how anyone could hope to deceive her with words like those. Madden explains that the method is obvious: first become her favorite, then stab her in the back when the time is right. When Alexa asks what they should do, Madden's answer is decisive. Clara should be eliminated quickly. As long as Clara disappears, her uncle will lose his leverage and strength. Dan, however, sees the situation differently. Clara's uncle clearly has someone backing him, and if they keep the young lady alive, they might be able to use her to uncover the true mastermind behind everything and deal with that person afterward. By that reasoning, Clara still has value. Madden strongly disagrees, insisting that it is always better to cut out the source of trouble as soon as possible. He believes they can uncover the mastermind through other means without leaving such a dangerous variable alive. After weighing both perspectives, Alexa finally reaches a conclusion. For the time being, Diane will keep watch over Clara. The scene then shifts elsewhere. Clara's uncle is questioning her harshly, warning that this meeting is important and concerns the head of the ducal house. If she dares to spout nonsense like she did at the funeral, she will be beaten. It is clear that he has already given up on playing the role of a reliable and caring uncle. Clara enters the room and sees the elders, the retainers, and everyone of importance gathered together. With both the Duke and the Duchess dead, now only the daughters remain. The gathered nobles think little of the two girls. In their eyes, the children must have come merely hoping to secure positions for themselves. The administrator, seeing that everyone of importance is present, announces that the meeting should begin. Before that can happen, however, one person steps forward, insisting that there is something he must reveal. The administrator calls him by name, reminding him that today's meeting marks a crucial moment for the ducal house. The Baron responds by stating that His Grace, the Duke, left a will in his possession concerning the position of the head of the ducal house. His words throw the room into complete confusion. The Baroness reacts first, because everyone present knows that this man was responsible for managing the ducal library. Handling important documents was part of his official duty, and that fact gives his claim a disturbing sense of plausibility. Clara's uncle immediately follows up, remarking that it is not strange at all for His Grace to entrust the will to such a person. Clara watches silently, her thoughts churning. Since when did her uncle begin standing on someone else's side? She remembers clearly that the Baron received an enormous amount of bribes from her uncle. That must be why he is so confident that the contents of the will favor him. A noblewoman shouts in outrage, declaring the situation absurd. With the young ladies of the house present, she demands to know why His Grace would ever leave a will concerning succession matters in the hands of a mere baron. The Baron counters coldly, questioning whether someone who only knows how to swing a sword could possibly understand documents. He insists that calling the will suspicious without verifying it first is reckless. With that, he steps forward and hands the document to the administrator. After examining it closely, the administrator notes that the handwriting, the ink, the paper, and even the family seal all belong unmistakably to His Grace. A low murmur ripples through the room as people begin to wonder aloud whether it could truly be genuine. Voices urge that the will be read at once and that the name of the successor be revealed. The administrator proceeds to explain the contents. The Duke stated that if he were to die before his children reached adulthood, a guardian was to be appointed to act as regent in their place. The appointed guardian was to be the one he trusted the most, his younger sibling by blood, January. The administrator continues, stating that Jan is to hold authority equal to that of the Duke himself, and that no one may challenge this authority. Clara's uncle reacts with apparent satisfaction, commenting that brother Jan must already be overwhelmed with church affairs and that assuming control of the ducal house would allow him to release some of that burden. Jan, however, responds that he will honor his brother's wishes. Although overseeing the ducal house alone may prove difficult, his son will assist him. Clara cannot help but think that her uncle is a fool. He truly believes that Hook will become the next duke, as though he has any idea how terrifying the administrator actually is. At that moment, Dane suddenly barges into the room, calling out Alexa's name. A noblewoman rebukes him sharply, demanding to know why he is late. She adds that with the young lady's coming-of-age ceremony only half a month away, it is disgusting to watch everyone scrambling and fighting over who will seize control of the family. This scene fills Clara with a strange sense of delight. It mirrors the original story. She cannot remember every detail clearly, but she knows that in the original timeline, the truth about the forge will come to light around this point. Alexa, who remembered her previous life, ordered Dane to capture the person who forged the document. Yet something feels wrong. Clara notices that Dane stands alone. Madden steps forward and asks where the forger is. Dane does not answer immediately. Instead, he gestures toward Alexa and presents bloodstained clothing. By the time he arrived, the forger was already dead. Madden insists that there must surely be some evidence left behind, but Dane states that the entire house was burned to the ground. Clara is thrown into confusion as she realizes that none of this existed in the original story. Even the Duke and Duchess were meant to die much later than this. Another situation is unfolding, one that completely defies the original plot. The Baron suddenly shouts that he does not understand what the two of them are babbling about and demands to know whether they are truly trying to imply that he forged the late Duke's will. Madden angrily accuses him of doing exactly that, claiming that he not only forged the document but also disposed of the ghostwriter to cover his tracks. The Baron retorts with outrage, questioning whether Madden can take responsibility for such accusations when there is not a shred of evidence. At that moment, someone calls out to Alexa. It is Jane, who declares that since Madden and Dane are both close associates of hers, she will be held responsible for the disturbance they have caused in the region under her command. Clara nearly laughs at the absurdity of it. The one who insulted everyone in the room, forged the will, and sent a baron to deliver it is none other than Jane's own son, and yet he continues to act as though he knows nothing. They clearly intend to frame Alexa and drive her out. After that, they will likely use the foolish Clara as a puppet before discarding her as well. But Clara has no intention of allowing that to happen. Ever since the funeral, she has regained access to her inventory, which had previously been logged. By sheer fortune, she possesses the perfect item for this exact situation. It is a single-use item, but its effect is extraordinary. She activates verification, a powerful ability that provides detailed information. The verification immediately reveals that the document is forged. It is a fake will written by the ghostwriter Bilson. Her biological father had always been meticulous, even when the estate was struggling. He never spared expense when it came to displaying his refined taste, insisting on the use of incredibly expensive royal ink. On the surface, there is no visible difference between that ink and standard ink. However, it possesses a unique hidden feature. The ability to recognize that feature was once considered proof of refined taste, which is why almost no one knows about it. The secret of that ink was mentioned only briefly in the original novel, but the feature was so distinctive that Clara remembers it clearly even now. Feigning boredom, she suddenly drops a candle onto the forged document. Chaos erupts instantly. People shout in alarm over the will, and Alexa rises from her seat as well. Someone hurriedly throws water to extinguish the flames. The uncle shouts harshly at Clara, demanding to know what she thinks she is doing. Clara hurriedly apologizes, insisting that she did not mean to cause trouble. Murmurs spread through the room. People question whether he truly just told her not to hit the child, and whether he normally treats Lady Clara with such hostility. Even if she is merely his niece, she is still the Duke's own flesh and blood. Until now, everyone believed he was acting like a kind uncle from the maternal side. The administrator intervenes, urging everyone not to scold the young lady too harshly. He reassures them that the will is perfectly fine, with only the edges slightly singed. The ink, he says, has merely burst a little. The uncle quickly adds that this is a relief and claims that he was only frustrated, insisting that he usually never gets angry with Clara. The administrator continues, stating that there is no need to worry because the Duke always used high-quality ink that does not smudge easily. The people around nod in agreement, thinking this makes perfect sense. There truly seems to be nothing about the Duke that the administrator does not know. However, Alexa notices something crucial. The ink is smudged. This is not the will her father wrote. When the administrator attempts to retrieve the document at once, Alexa stops him. Jane begins to shout in outrage, threatening dire punishment and invoking his authority as regent. He demands that the offender be expelled immediately. Alexa calmly states that her uncle has no such authority. She adds that she supposes he would not know this detail, since he was never close with her father. The ink her father used does not smudge when exposed to water. Instead, the letters turn a brilliant golden color. Jane scoffs, openly mocking the idea that such an ink could exist. Alexa explains that it is called Phonix X, an ink secretly reserved within the imperial family. Even her father barely managed to obtain it, so she can understand why an administrator who is not even a noble would be ignorant of its existence. The administrator argues that if such an ink truly existed, there is no way he would not know, given that he handled the Duke's affairs. Alexa scoffs in response. Her father employed him strictly as an administrator. He did not share his personal life with him as a friend. She pointedly questions whether he truly understands the difference. Clara observes that Alexa's words serve as a warning. She is making it clear that the administrator is nothing more than an employee. Alexa then proposes a simple test. If no one believes her, they can bring out her father's personal records and pour water over them. The result will speak for itself. When this is done, the words on the documents begin to glow with a radiant golden light. The ink fully lives up to its reputation, unmistakably proving that it is reserved for the imperial family alone. The truth settles heavily over the room as the reality of the forgery becomes undeniable. With the evidence now clear, Alexa orders the Baron to be locked up immediately. The Baron cries out in desperation, proclaiming his innocence and begging to be heard. Alexa coldly points out that someone forged the will and went so far as to murder the ghostwriter. This is a terrifying conspiracy aimed at stealing their family legacy. Jane insists that he truly has no idea what is happening. Alexa replies that she will not point fingers at anyone just yet, but none of them should feel at ease. Until the true mastermind is uncovered, she declares that the appointment of a regent is suspended. Since then, Alexa has been meticulously investigating the mastermind behind the conspiracy, working through Madden and Dane. Despite their combined efforts, the mastermind proves difficult to catch, their ability to eliminate loose ends remarkably efficient. Furthermore, Baron takes his own life in prison just a month later, and the duchy is returned to Alexa, who finally holds her coming-of-age ceremony. Events have unfolded differently from the original novel, yet in the end, Alexa becomes the head of the family. Everything appears to be settling into place, yet she finds this unsettling. Things are progressing far too smoothly. In her first life, she had been cast out of the family and murdered, and in her second life, even after enduring the ghostwriter's nonsense, she had faced immense headaches. Now, with the ghostwriter already dead, she truly believed it was all over. Her thoughts drift to the past. If Clara had not knocked over that candle, she might never have remembered the specific ink her father used. Alexa wonders whether Clara is genuinely keeping her word or if it is merely coincidence. Suddenly, there is a knock on the door. Alexa allows the visitor to enter. It is Clara. Their exchange is awkward at first. Clara attempts to navigate the formalities, referring not to sister but to the family and, perhaps, the duchy. Alexa interrupts this, insisting that she simply call her sister, then gestures for her to come over and sit. Clara, in her own way, prepares a small chair, which Alexa immediately notes is far too tiny. When Clara asks what she says, Alexa replies nothing, inadvertently making Clara proud, as if she has succeeded in presenting something noteworthy. Clara brings with her cookies, a snack that Alexa has never encountered before. Immediately, she wonders whether Clara might have poisoned them. Clara explains that the cookies are a birthday present, since her coming-of-age ceremony coincided with the more urgent matters of the dukedom, and her actual birthday had passed quietly. Alexa is taken aback at receiving a gift from Clara of all people. She chides Clara lightly, calling her actions useless, and remarks that she must have known what kind of ink their father used, and that perhaps she deliberately set the will on fire to wet it. Clara begins to stutter, unsure of what Alexa is implying. Alexa senses her flustered state and the subtle truth that something is definitely going on. This life is clearly different from the last, yet she resolves not to assume that Clara is like her. If that were the case, Clara would have attempted to kill her long ago. Alexa allows Clara to leave, though she ponders the discomfort of simply being in the same room together, noting that even Dane and Madden feel burdened by prolonged proximity. Alexa invites Clara to remain if she wishes to assist with family affairs, even suggesting that if she knows a way to revive the barren lands of their estate, she may stay. Clara shrinks back, claiming ignorance, yet then implores Alexa to try at least one cookie, emphasizing that she made it herself. Clara recalls that Alexa had given her cookies before, and now she wishes to reciprocate. The memory triggers a recollection in Alexa. Clara had once saved her from their mother when they were children. This recollection softens her, and she decides to eat the cookie. Clara anxiously wonders whether Alexa enjoys it. Of course, it is delicious. Clara made it using her unlocked skill. She notes, humorously, that as a strictly Korean mother, she can only make Korean food, yet asks Alexa for her opinion. Alexa, with playful exaggeration, declares it terrible, leaving Clara momentarily defeated. She prepares to leave, sadness evident in her demeanor. Alexa, however, tells her that next time, she should bring something better, which instantly brightens Clara's face. She promises to make many more, yet Alexa assures her that there is no need for so many. Alexa stands by the window, observing the duchy that has been held by her family for generations. The farmland stretches before her, barren and unyielding, denying life the chance to take root regardless of the climate. People whisper that the state suffers under a curse and that its rulers are the masters of nightmares. They claim that the great demon, the nightmare monarch, was sealed deep beneath the earth and that the castle, along with the entire state, was built directly atop his resting place. The demonic miasma, they say, slowly poisons the land. Alexa, however, finds these notions to be pathetic nonsense. Still, the sterility of the soil presents a genuine and dire crisis. Her father had shown absolutely no interest in agriculture, investing in nothing that could sustain the land. Any attempts at changing fertilizers or altering farming methods prove futile. At this rate, the family will not survive the upcoming season of blight. The next morning, Clara's uncle erupts in a display of grief, struggling to express the depth of his sorrow at losing his only sister. Yet, despite the depth of his own anguish, he knows it cannot compare to the pain Alexa must feel, having lost both parents. He arrives swiftly, understanding how difficult it must be for her to be completely alone, and wishes to offer his assistance. After all, he is her maternal uncle. Alexa assures him that she is fine and has already overcome her grief. Her uncle argues that she need not force herself to bear such burdens alone, warning that she might collapse if she endures her emotions in silence, even as he is so devastated himself. Alexa, however, remains resolute. She insists that she has no time to mourn if she is to preserve the family legacy. It seems that Viscount has yet to process his own sorrow, so she cannot accept assistance from a man drowning in his grief. She requests that he take the necessary time to recover while she promises to send some tea to soothe his nerves and offer a confection from the table on his way out. The scene shifts to Clara, who is silently observing the commotion. She finds it pathetic that the young lady idles about without concern, questioning why her uncle scolds her as soon as he arrives. Clara reflects on the fact that, at only 12 years old, she must brush her own hair due to complete neglect. Her uncle issues strict orders that from now on, she is to visit Alexa Avenue every morning and evening, checking on her constantly and reporting her condition directly to him. The reports from the servants are deemed insufficient. Clara must also attend family councils hosted by the head of the family and relay all discussions back to her uncle without omission. Clara is incredulous, realizing that he is essentially instructing her to act as his spy. The maid urges her to respond promptly, assuring the Viscount that Clara will be properly educated and well taken care of, describing the situation as truly tragic for a 12-year-old. Clara remains skeptical, wondering what exactly everyone is being paid and how many spies are crawling through the state. The maid pressures her further, asking why she is so slow to answer, emphasizing that a girl like Clara might fail immediately in such a role if she is not careful. Clara feels the weight of the situation and understands that she must accelerate her plans. By Friday afternoon, the maid notes that they are quite late, as Dane inspects the knight's orders, particularly focusing on the rose garden, where entry is strictly limited to family members. The maid speculates that Dane will probably be late if he comes after the inspection. She drags Clara to the rose garden, noting that the only reason for her presence is to serve as an excuse for her own visits. Dane is described as possessing lustrous brown hair and a solid, firm figure, yet his face is as beautiful as a flower. Alexa takes walks in this garden every Friday afternoon, accompanied by Dane, and the pair often steal glances at one another. The maid wonders aloud who will marry Dane, acknowledging that while he is handsome and kind, he is a commoner and thus unlikely to marry a noble like themselves. Clara scoffs, noting that Dane has always liked Alexa, and in the original novel, Jane dedicated her life entirely to loving Alexa. This devotion was absolute, both in her past life and after regression. Clara informs the maid that Alexa has decided not to take a walk that day, meaning Dane will not come either. The maid reacts in shock, demanding why Clara only tells them now. Clara explains that she had only informed Alexa when giving her a birthday present earlier in the day. The maid grows frustrated, demanding that they go inside immediately. Clara, hurt by the confrontation, pushes back, pointing out that her own maid lacks manners. The maid laughs at her, mocking Clara's anger and questioning what she could possibly do in such a situation. Clara asserts that as their master, she deserves respect from the servants and will punish them if they fail to show it. The maid warns Clara that if she continues to act out, she will report her to the Viscount, resulting in Clara's punishment. Clara, having endured enough, pushes the maid forcefully, causing both of them to fall to the floor. Other maids rush to check on the fallen maid. Clara, equally shocked, notices that the maid herself has also fallen. At that precise moment, Alexa arrives, observing the chaos and remarking on the noise, questioning what is happening in her garden. Both the maid and Clara turn to look at Alexa, caught in a mixture of surprise and apprehension. A few minutes earlier, the maid had shouted in frustration, lamenting that her hair, despite all the effort she had put into looking presentable for day-to-day duties, had become filthy. Clara could hardly believe that this trivial concern was what preoccupied her. The maid, determined, declared that she would tell everything to her sister about what had occurred. Confused, the maid pressed on, questioning what exactly Clara intended to reveal and remarking that, without proof, who would believe her? Clara calmly responded, asserting that there was indeed proof. At that precise moment, Alexa arrived. The maid froze in disbelief. Clara had assured her that Alexa would not be coming today, a lie that had lulled them into letting their guard down. Madden arrived shortly afterward, asking Alexa why she was present, then sharply scolded the maids for failing to show proper respect. The maids hurriedly went to greet Alexa. She surveyed them carefully, then fixed her gaze on Clara, silently questioning what had transpired. Clara knew that if Alexa discovered that they had been ordered by the Viscount to harass her, they would be in grave danger. In desperation, Clara went down on her knees, pleading for Alexa's mercy, urging her to endure this day, yet it was clear the maids could no longer bear it. Alexa turned to Clara, asking exactly what they were supposed to endure. The maids had initially believed Clara's treatment to be mere childish behavior and had remained silent, but now they confessed that they could endure it no longer. Clara, observing their distress, wondered whether they were all actors, playing a part. The maid revealed that the young lady had trapped them, forcing them to slap one another across the face at every meal, and gave them nothing but food that they could not eat. Clara realized that any explanation she offered would now sound like the excuses of a tyrannical mistress. Madame, enraged, demanded to know what had been said and insisted that Clara be severely disciplined, claiming that all the servants were her property. Yet before acting, Madden interjected, asserting that the maid's claims must first be verified. Laura was called upon to speak. Madden, reflecting on the original story, knew that the maid had neither liked nor disliked Clara. His disdain had been rooted in the strict judgment of status. Coming from a family that had served as the household's knight commanders for generations, his pride was immense. Though he had claimed to dislike Clara's personality, in truth, he looked down on her because she was from a fallen noble family, and by extension, her mother Julia had been judged harshly. This same disdain had fueled his cruelty when he killed Clara on Alexa's orders, showing no mercy and employing especially cruel methods. Alexa then commanded Clara to speak, questioning whether the maid's words were true. Clara revealed her scars on her knees. Alexa asked if she was alright. Clara admitted that it hurt. Pressed further about how she had been injured, she hesitated before revealing that she had been threatened with punishment if she told Alexa the truth. Her sobs began as the maid apologized for failing to catch her when she had fallen from a tree. Dane, confused, asked what she meant, while the maid insisted that it was all her fault. Clara, trembling, tried to take responsibility, asking the maid not to strike her. The maid attempted to grab Clara, but Alexa immediately intervened, ordering her to remove her hands and commanding Clara to speak freely. Clara ground out that nothing had happened, yet Alexa could see the severe bleeding, a condition the other servants had neither noticed nor cared about. Clara had been quivering in fear while the maid merely patted her, and she claimed nothing had occurred. Alexa, her gaze piercing, warned Clara that if she did not speak honestly, she would punish her far more severely than anything the maid had done. Even though Clara had planned for this confrontation, the intensity of Alexa's expression was terrifying. She recognized the same aura from the original story when Alexa had slaughtered monsters on the battlefield. Under the weight of Alexa's presence, Clara admitted that the maid had bullied and scolded her. The servants had threatened that if she did not obey, they would inform her uncle and have her punished. Alexa asked why her knees were injured. Clara explained that Dane had not arrived, and in the maid's hurry to leave, they had pulled her painfully, causing her to fall. When she threatened to scold them, the maids had again insisted they would inform her uncle and have her punished. Alexa's inquiry about why they were hurrying back revealed that Clara had noted the maid's affection for Dane, a revelation that left him utterly flustered. Madden declares that the situation is absolutely ridiculous. A maid, he insists, and the Tucker house are top-tier bright among commoners. Why would anyone ever like someone like Dane? He implores Alexa not to believe it, insisting it is a total lie. Clara knows, however, that Madden has no idea of the rumors circulating among the maids. He is only disparaging Dane out of jealousy. Alexa laughs at this, realizing that her ears had not deceived her. She had been taking a walk alone to clear her head, leaving both Dan and Madden far behind her, when she hears a very strange noise. The scene is undeniably pathetic. The maids wasted their day, their clothes and hair in disarray, yet they failed to follow their master's orders. Instead, they chose to threaten Clara by claiming they would inform the Viscount of everything. Clara is grateful that Alexa has heard all of it, everything that transpired between her and the maids. Alexa remarks that Clara is the only person who has told her the truth. She asserts that there is no reason to keep people in the duchy who do not even recognize their own master. Alexa then commands Dan and Madden to terminate the contracts of these maids and expel them from the estate permanently. Clara notes that the punishment is more merciful than she expected, yet Alexa continues to charge them with child abuse, ensuring they are punished according to the law. Dan, incredulous, asks if she truly means that the maids should have their crimes branded onto their faces. Alexa confirms this precisely. If they inflicted scars upon a young child that could never be forgotten, then they should bear a mark themselves. With this decision, she takes Clara with her, while the maid begs for mercy. The scene shifts to Clara's uncle, who is furious that all of Clara's direct maids have been expelled. Since they were not branded with the mark of a spy, his own secret remains undiscovered. He realizes he must act quickly before Alexa appoints new maids on her own. Suddenly, the carriage halts, prompting him to shout in frustration that he could have been harmed. Madden interrupts, stating that the Viscount is not permitted to enter past this point. The Viscount demands whether they know who he is, and Madden replies that he is the Viscount, the older brother of the late mistress and the maternal uncle of Lady Clara. The Viscount protests that blocking his path is an outrage. Madden explains that it is an order from Alexa. She has strictly forbidden his entry into the duchy and decrees that from now on, he must request permission before visiting. He must return, submit a formal request, and await approval. The Viscount argues that he could inform the Duke immediately, but Madden clarifies that any request must be in writing, or rule applied to all without exception. Madden bids him safe travels, and the Viscount departs. He soon reports back to Alexa, confirming that events unfolded exactly as she predicted. As soon as news spread that the maids were expelled, Clara insisted on meeting him, which is why he had to be sent away personally. Alexa already knew that the Viscount had planted spies within the duchy. Normally, upon becoming Duke, her first action would have been to root out her siblings' spies, but she proceeded cautiously to avoid appearing as though she were purging innocent employees all at once. Her plan was to first address the spies around her, then move on to those working for Julia. However, after Julia's passing, all of those spies became Clara's responsibility. Alexa had merely been waiting for the right opportunity, aware that Clara might throw a tantrum if she removed them prematurely. Ironically, she was able to expel them thanks to Clara herself, who had no idea she was being abused by her own direct mates. Alexa wonders whether Julia had known of the abuse and left it unaddressed. Perhaps that explains Clara's calm demeanor during Julia's funeral. The child had no one by her side, which must have been unbearably lonely. Madden argues that Clara is likely one of the Viscount's spies as well, suggesting she should be expelled or at least confined to her room. Alexa dismisses the notion, asserting that if Clara truly is a spy, she must know the identities of the others. Clara is likely bewildered at the sudden replacement of all her maids. Alexa instructs Madden to feign concern while subtly extracting the list of spies from her. Madden protests, questioning why she is assigning Dan to this task. Alexa asks whether he truly believes he could persuade Clara to reveal the names. Madden asserts that he is far better suited than the soft-hearted Dan. If Clara refuses, he will resort to hanging her upside down from the window. Alexa interrupts, referencing the fable of the sun and the wind, asking whether Madden knows the story in which they bet on who could make a traveler remove their coat. Madden confirms that he knows, albeit puzzled by its sudden relevance. Alexa explains that in this scenario, Madden is the wind and Dan is the sun. If they want a child to take off her coat and speak the truth, the sun is far more effective than the wind. She then orders Dan to proceed with the mission. Dan, understanding the difficulty of obtaining a list of spies from Clara, knows the task will not be easy. Remembering the abuse she endured, he resolves to be kind to her. Clara appears exhausted and withdrawn, so he anticipates that patience and care will be necessary. Dan plans to approach her with small gestures, perhaps offering sweet foods like cookies to gradually open her heart. He knocks on Clara's door, announcing his presence, but before he can speak further, Clara interjects, revealing that she has something important to tell him. The head groom is a spy. She continues by revealing that the assistant was also bribed, along with the maid from her father's bedchamber and the servant working under the butler. That servant, she explains, was a spy planted by the Viscount. She adds that her uncle has far too many connections, noting that he is even close with Ginger. Ginger meaning the very same person expected to take over once the butler retires. Clara suddenly understands why her uncle always gives Ginger a larger allowance than anyone else. It dawns on her how frightening the situation truly is. The current butler is old and nearing retirement, and if Ginger were to become the next butler without anyone uncovering this truth, the consequences would be terrifying. Yet the fact that the spice was relieved so easily proves something else entirely. The young lady is not one of them. Clara can easily guess what Dane is thinking. He suggests that they stop for today and that she should rest, perhaps even play with her dolls. She immediately clarifies that one of them is her fortune-telling teacher doll, and she adds that this person also received an allowance from her uncle. She continues listing names without pause. The assistant tutor, the musician who visits from time to time. Dane gently asks her to speak more slowly and considers bringing something to write with, but he remarks that it is nice to see her smiling. She has been crying so much lately, his words catch her completely off guard. He admits that he truly hopes she can keep smiling, because children should grow up surrounded by laughter. She always knew he was kind, but hearing something so sweet spoken so sincerely, especially with such a handsome face, feels almost unfair. Saying things like that should be illegal. It is no wonder the maids are head over heels for him. She feels relieved that someone this gentle is standing beside Alexa. Alexa is like ice cold, solid, unbreakable, and strong. Yet even ice will shatter if strained too far. Clara silently hopes that Dane will become someone Alexa can rely on without hesitation. Dane remarks that there truly are an alarming number of spies. Clara jokingly wonders whether planted spies grow flowers or fruit. The thought makes them both laugh. She realizes that she became too excited at having someone to talk to again and ended up telling him everything. Perhaps there really are far too many spies. A sudden worry crosses her mind. What if he starts suspecting her as well? Instead, Dane thinks of something else entirely. He reflects on how many dangerous people must have surrounded her, how all of them likely listened only to the Viscount while completely ignoring her. He considers how lonely and painful that must have been, how heartbreaking it must have felt to have nowhere to vent her worries. He resolves that if something like that ever happens again, she should come to him. She can hardly believe it. He is worrying about her, not trying to reassure her for his own benefit, not trying to use her later. His eyes do not look like that at all. She smiles and admits that she was very sad, and that he truly understands how she feels. Her mother always scolded her, and her father never paid her any attention. Yet she loved her sister deeply. Whenever she got into trouble with their mother, it was her sister who helped her. Dane starts to say that perhaps her sister did not help her out of kindness, but he cuts the thought short. She must have helped her. In his own way, he is trying to protect Alexa, even though he does not entirely believe it himself. That alone makes him kind someone worthy of being entrusted with Alexa. Clara then adds that her sister is very handsome, which is why she loves her the most in the whole world. That part is not a lie. In the original story, Alexa was her favorite character. Cold-eyed and distant, yet when gentleness was needed, she could open her arms even to an orphan from the slums. Even in this world, Alexa quickly stole her heart. The Duke and Duchess being cruel to her never made sense to Clara. Alexa shone too brightly for that, though she admits that such a thing may be difficult. Her gaze shifts toward Dane, searching his face for confirmation. She wonders whether her sincerity has reached him at all. If it has, then she wishes for him to convey everything she has said today to her sister, without omission. The scene shifts. Alexa reflects in silence, wondering whether she has overlooked something or missed a crucial detail. If he has truly uncovered the list of spies so quickly, then the situation is more serious than she initially assumed. She hears his report and acknowledges it, understanding that he believes the young lady has been desperately waiting for an opportunity to speak to someone. That explanation takes Alexa slightly aback. He elaborates further. The youngest daughter has been abused by her mother and neglected by her father, growing up without affection or protection. Yet she has never been able to tell anyone about it. There has never been a single person willing to listen. When he offers her even one kind word, she reacts with overwhelming joy and opens up completely. He continues to ramble, explaining that the young lady speaks as though she could give him the entire world after only a few conversations. That realization fills him with happiness. Alexa, however, is furious. He goes on, admitting that this may be nothing more than his own misunderstanding, but he believes that the young lady may also wish to give Alexa her entire world. He adds that Clara has said she likes Alexa. Alexa dismisses it immediately, thinking that children will say anything. Dane counters her reaction by explaining that Clara has said Alexa once helped her when she was young. That revelation stirs something deep within Alexa's memory, the cookie incident. He continues, saying that Clara wants to be close to Alexa but fears that it may be difficult, and that this fear has made her genuinely sad. Alexa brushes it off internally, labeling such feelings as nonsense. Dane begins to apologize, convinced that he has wasted her time, and promises that he will never again report such useless matters. Alexa stops him. She decides that from now on, he is to report every single one of those so-called useless things. Dane looks at her in utter confusion. Seeing his expression, Alexa wonders whether she truly needs to repeat herself. She reinforces her decision without hesitation. Dane finally accepts the order and agrees that he will report everything from now on. Elsewhere, Clara remains uneasy. She can only hope that he is truly conveying her words properly, exactly as she meant them to be heard. The house is turned upside down as employees who have served the dukedom for many years are dismissed all at once. Their offenses vary: negligence, bribery, and the leaking of family secrets among them. The vassals and elders are enraged by this unprecedented upheaval, yet none dare rebel against Alexa, who has already secured undeniable evidence. Instead, unease spreads among them as they fear that their own hidden crimes may soon be uncovered. Alexa does not merely replace the dismissed employees with her own people. She methodically bleeds out the Viscount's spies, removing them one by one. Anxiety ripples through the household as whispers circulate about whether she already knows who has been secretly handing information to the Viscount in exchange for money. She brings the meeting to a close. Some vassals attempt to flatter her, praising her efforts and remarking that a mountain of territorial affairs and long-delayed reforms still await her attention. They assure her that such matters can be addressed step by step and pledge their loyalty, declaring that they will follow and trust only her. After everyone leaves, the administrator calls out, noting that the room must be checked and cleared. Alexa tells him that she is fine. Left alone, she begins to ponder his behavior. Even as spies are being uprooted one after another, he continues to act as though he is still the indispensable right hand of the dukedom. She already knows of his dual identity from her previous life, and she realizes that she must deal with him quickly. The administrator claims that there is something he must tell her in private. Alexa responds with cold formality, thinking that the chief officials should have scheduled face-to-face meetings. There are 4 chief officials in this house: the head maid, the butler, the knight commander, and the administrator. Among them, he has always received special treatment. Everything, however, changes after the young brat becomes duchess. Resentment simmers within him. He is furious that she dares to strip away his authority, questioning whether she even understands how much he has contributed to this family. To him, her actions are nothing short of an insult. He convinces himself that if this is how she intends to play the game, then he has no choice but to respond in kind. He insists that what he has to say cannot wait and presses her to abandon her stubbornness and permit the Viscount free entry. He claims that worry has robbed him of sleep and appetite, all because of concern for Lady Clara. Alexa reacts with cutting indifference. She decides that she will bestow upon him tea meant to induce deep sleep and provide him with balanced meals, and if he refuses, she will treat it as an act of disloyalty toward the ducal house. The administrator argues that Clara surely wishes to see the Viscount as well. He frames the recent changes within the household as unfair to her and insists that her maternal uncle should, at the very least, be allowed to remain by her side. Alexa scoffs internally. She knows that there is someone else Clara wishes to grow close to, and the administrator is utterly taken aback by her tone. He cannot comprehend what she is implying or who this other person might be. At last, he produces a set of documents, explaining that the Viscount has ordered him to deliver them. Alexa believes that the discussion has already gone on long enough, but the administrator presses forward, emphasizing that the matter concerns Clara. When Alexa opens the documents, her eyes widen. It is a request for inheritance. Fundamentally, all of a family's inheritance is passed down to the eldest child. Because of this custom, siblings who receive nothing are often consumed by dissatisfaction and will resort to any means, no matter how dirty, to claim their share. To prevent such disputes, the successor usually distributes the inheritance in a reasonable manner. The document in Alexa's hands is precisely the instrument used for that purpose. The administrator explains that the Viscount has requested Clara's share of the inheritance in his capacity as her guardian. Alexa immediately objects, reasoning that only the individual concerned should be able to submit an inheritance request. The administrator counters that this is precisely why he has brought the matter to her attention and suggests that they should seek Lady Clara's opinion. He implies that Clara may desire her inheritance after all. Internally, he feels satisfied. Just as he anticipated, Alexa appears wary, as though afraid that what is hers might be taken away. He believes that once Alexa truly perceives Clara as a rival, her genuine feelings will surface, and he will exploit that crack of insecurity. He adds that, naturally, his master's intentions are his highest priority, and if Alexa commands it, he is willing to destroy the inheritance request immediately. Alexa stops him. She decides that this is enough and dismisses him. As he leaves, he scoffs inwardly, convinced that she is merely pretending to be noble until the very end, destined to be dragged down soon regardless. A sudden crack forms in Alexa's mind as memories from her past life resurface. She recalls Clara shouting in resentment, demanding to know why Alexa was allowed to have everything while she was left with nothing. The image shatters, replaced by her present self. She steadies herself, realizing that Clara's true feelings are irrelevant. She is now the head of the family, and she will act as she sees fit. In her current situation, she cannot afford to be distracted by Clara at all. The scene shifts. A doll-like figure pleads with someone to give their son to her. The king refuses, explaining that his son is a fragile prince, raised like a flower within the safety of a greenhouse. The woman argues that if she demonstrates her sincerity toward the prince, they should grant her request. The king agrees, stating that he wishes to see this sincerity for himself. Clara then lifts Prince Dane into her arms. She declares that this act itself is her sincerity. If she cannot have him, then she will break him. She announces that she is hungry and suggests that they should eat, only to note moments later that there is neither water nor food available. When she questions why, the answer comes easily: they are beggars, a couple who fled after defying the king's orders. Clara responds that, in that case, they should begin farming. She digs into the ground and uncovers a spirit stone in land where neither flowers nor grass grow. She finds it strange that such a thing could be hidden in barren soil and speculates that the spirit stone has stolen and consumed the power of the land itself. Dane agrees, yet Clara can clearly see that he is exhausted by her presence.